Hey guys, Josh back with another video for the Zenith Poker YouTube channel. And today we are just doing a live play. Um, nothing too fancy. But, while I wait to get a seat on these other two tables, I'll talk a little bit. So before this session, lately I've been trying to be more diligent with session preparation. So, what I used to do and what I found worked well for me is, reviewing a few hands before every session and spots that maybe I'm not the most familiar with. It could be that, or it could just be, studying and going through solves, or some combination of the two. Today I spent like 30 minutes prior to the session just looking over single raise pot sims on paired boards and was taking a look through the check raise line a little bit. So yeah, found some pretty interesting things, but yeah, now I'm just hopping in. So this is going to be something to pay attention to. So this is obviously a recreational player on a 22 big blind stack, and then there's what seems to be a reg right here, and he's ISOing to 3 big blinds. Okay, snap fold. Okay. Well, what I was going to say is it's important that you're paying attention to, what sort of ISO strategy a reg is using against a recreational player. Because if you start paying attention and paying attention to showdowns, you'll often find that there's a reg ISOing way too wide, and he just kind of tells everyone how strong his hand is. So we have okay, kings and queens. Okay. So turn goes check check here. So on ace high boards, you can definitely. Across most boards, you're actually just going to do a lot more checking after turn goes check check. But I think, if I recall correctly, on ace high boards, you can block a little bit. In theory, I think in game it works quite well. And the big thing being, I think a lot of the pool delays their aggression to later streets. So I think after flop goes check check, this line might end up getting overbluffed a little bit. Okay. 4x open down here, which is interesting. This one seems a bit optimistic. Facing half pot. After you open 4 big blinds, you have to do a lot of checking. Especially since, he might be doing that because he suspects the pool is playing a bit weak versus the bigger opens, which is totally true. But if you're exploiting the fact that regs aren't going to 3-bet like marginal suited Broadway hands or strong hands or whatever, then after you get called pre-flop, you have to do. It doesn't make sense to start betting a lot. So this one's gonna mix. With 2 recreational players in position, my opening range is going to be you know, a pip tighter. So, like, the offsuit Broadway is just going to ditch him very early. Okay, ace 10x board. I mean, we could just start with a lot of small bets on a board like this. Ace high boards, generally I just prefer to go closer to like a quarter or maybe even like fifth pot. Okay, so we get check raised. We unblock plenty of bluffs. I mean, obviously we're continuing. But just kind of thinking about my hand on later streets. Okay, actually I think I'm going to flat this hand with 2 short stacks behind me. I'm, you know, if one of these... Oh, yeah, snapping this off. Okay. Is this set? What the fuck? Why would you jam? Okay. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well. That was kind of ridiculous. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, you know, I'm more than happy, like, if one of these short stacks, you know, decides to put their stack in, then I'm more than happy to do that. Yeah, with 2 very loose recreational players behind, I'm just gonna fold this. I might get curious sometimes, but also you'll see me do a good bit of limping blind v blinds. It's for. I mean, it's just a sound theoretical strategy, but also I think it works quite well in game. And Queen Jack 9, when checked to in position, just gonna be playing a very, well, not a very, but a relatively polar, like, big better check. Going to be overbetting this turn. Interesting one here. When we have 2 8s in our hands, you know, it's you know, debatably a better call than like A7 or something. Trying to think. Let's see. Okay, sure. Actually gonna fold this one. I know it looks nitty. So, you know, what a chart would tell you at this rake structure is call or 4-bet, basically. However, I've come to the conclusion that calling 3-bets with those hands facing... oh, this is interesting. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of blindly rip it in here. Like, he just has so much dog shit. Could just have, like, you know, 10-7 of clubs. We just want to, like, mash it in. Let's see. Yeah, so blind v blind, basically, the pool is just 3-betting way too linearly. Out of the big blind in pretty much every configuration, yeah, the pool is just 3-betting way too linearly. So, you know, the exploit against that is fold more, call less, 4-bet more of your continuing range. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I think one thing a lot of players do poorly is, they'll 3-bet out of position, really from it, in any configuration involving a big blind 3-bet, and then they just kind of blindly do a lot of betting on the flop. And I mean, in theory, it's kind of bad. But I think I think they're actually it probably is a better strategy than. Oh, I did. Okay, yeah, he's very short. Oh, hold. Nice. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna be four betting or calling this one from EP. Going to be using, a slightly smaller 4-bet size. So we get Wait. I'm confused how this hand transpired. Was I in the big blind? Okay, well that's a pretty interesting turn. On the river, on a board like this, just going to be, like, most of my bets are just going to be very polar. On a, a monotone board with 3 Broadway cards, I'm not going to be value betting like ace-4 of clubs. I'm gonna pull up the solution to that spot. I think it was button versus big blind. Let me let me see exactly what it was. Oh, okay. Okay, that's why I was confused. So we opened and got click 3-bet. That's okay. But the reason you do, like, so much of your range wants to just do a lot of very big betting on rivers is like on earlier streets you're not going to be doing much raising. So like you're just going to get to the river with so many more strong hands than you would have on like a different board texture. Actually, after turn goes check check, it does look like. Oh, this is. I'm gonna proceed with a call. And just bink the nuts. That's okay. Gonna be betting very big. So basically on paired boards. Long story short, on paired boards, people hate folding. So, just never going to bet anything other than big with this hand. Well, what I was referring to is this river spot. It does appear there is some blocking with like ace-9, ace-8 type hands. I didn't. Yeah, so then the threshold would be like ace-7 would be where you start to check, and then ace-8 pure bets, but it's still close. But yeah, in general, on monotone boards, in most river spots, you're gonna have like some very big bets or raises. In the vast majority of spots. And you know when, the next time you build a sim on a monotone board, now you know, like, you have a bit better idea of what you're doing. Make sure you give like all the bets and raises you can on the river. Okay, facing a block, not much to say. I'd imagine a lot of the bluffs that do contain a 9 would generally go bigger. Okay, so I guess he's value betting an ace. So this would be, actually I think the 9 in our hand is quite good. Just because ace 9 off is going to be a huge portion of his value. And I think a lot of the bluffs that do contain a 9 are just going to go bigger. Okay, well, sometimes sometimes you got the read and you still lose. Poker's a beautiful game. Worked out exactly how I drew it up. Okay, here, after he cold calls out of the hijack. Okay, so first of all, this was just too loose of an open. I was just like busy talking and misread the configuration here. But this is just going to be a lot of like pocket eights, assuming it's a reg. But he checked back quite quickly and lost. I see. He had pocket fours. So yeah, that's interesting. Cold calling an open from EP with pocket fours. Could consider getting out of line here, but I want a little more information on this reg before I do that. Mostly, I just want a better idea of what his ISO strategy is, because he might have something that, is a bit more correct. And he actually uses like a 3-bet range there. Okay. Yeah, just gonna be checking this hand a lot. Hey guys, thanks for watching part 1 of this live play. So what I wanted to do is just cut. So I was very meticulous with where I cut off the video. It was facing that river decision, and that single raise pot blind v blind with Jack 8. And so I'm going to recap what happened. So basically, I ended up folding the river. So, I kind of went back and forth on this hand. So in game, I had several conflicting thought processes, which, can be good or bad. It's just one of those things. Like whenever you obtain like a ton of information about poker and theoretical information and information on exploits and MDA, sometimes you're just going to have some conflicting thoughts, which is totally fine. What makes poker so difficult is you kind of have to weigh your options. There's going to be good options, but you have to make sure you're taking the best option, regardless of whatever feels comfortable or you think is, standard or fine or whatever. You gotta, like, part of playing at a high level is making sure you're maximizing maximizing your EV in every spot. So I just wanted to hop into a sim here and sort of walk you guys through what was going through my mind. So this was a blind v blind single race pot, and on these double Broadway boards, generally the small blind is going to be betting a good bit over half the time. Depending on the rake structure, that can fluctuate. Like at low rake, the betting frequency on this board is going to go up. So here the betting frequency is just over 60%, and at low rake, if I recall correctly, it's closer to like 75. But that's just a function of the big blind defending a lot wider, a lot wider. Sorry, my voice is a bit hoarse. So like, at low rake, the imposition player will have like 7-5 off and 9-7 off. Those sorts of hands. So the utility of just betting a lot more goes up. So part of the thing is, like, this is just part of the metagame where, this is a board most regs are going to be betting at quite a high frequency. So generally when I face checks on these boards, I feel like usually I'm getting a bit more information than I'm entitled to. So when I face a check on a board like this, generally I just kind of assume it's some hand that really likes to check, like pocket nines or something, or 10-7 suited, or ace-9 of hearts or something. So when I face a check on this board, I think it's going to be disproportionately weighted to ace-high, which even in theory that should still be the case. Like every different line you take should be conveying some sort of information about the strength of your hand. For whatever reason, I think people get a bit too obsessed with like disguising their hand. Like there are definitely some like really strong hands that benefit just from really good blockers of they just really benefit from going into the block line or something. But generally, the less money you put into the pot, the weaker your hand is on average. So when I face a check here, I'm just thinking like I know the pool is going to overfold by a pretty significant margin relative to GTO on a board like this. So facing block, you just have to kind of call a bit of everything, like even ace-5 no suit, like 7-6 with a suit getting in there, 9-7 of diamonds. Like facing blocks in position, you just have to float insanely wide to make the out of position player indifferent between betting and checking with air. So I think something like Jack-4 diamonds would I think a decent number of regs would find this one with all the backdoor straights and the overcard to the 10. However, generally, like the pool is just going to be overfolding by quite a bit. So when I do face a check on this board, I feel like their hand must be really nice as a check. This could be a whole number of hands, but I mean generally something like ace high or middle pair or something, or pocket nines. If I just had to guess, I have not downloaded the hand histories to look at the hole cards. So after I go through this, I'm gonna go do that, and you just never really know on Bovada. The anonymous factor is just so crazy. Just adds like a whole new level of complexity to the game. Facing check here. This is actually a good point. So when I face a check on this board, given that I'm getting a bit more information than I should be, and their range is going to be disproportionately capped. So when that's the case, I am going to be playing a bit more of a polar strategy than might be theoretically sound. But yeah, generally on these double Broadway boards, I'm going to be playing like big bet or check. I think on a really high board like, well, I mean, king high is gonna play different than like ace high. Like for instance, this is ace queen nine rainbow, and if we face a check as the big blind, we're just playing very big bet or check, like small size being 3/4 pot up to 1.5 times a pot. And yeah, I mean, generally on a board like this, I just play small over bet or check, and then on like some of the lower textures, like this king 10-3, I just play like pot or check. Then the drier the texture, the bit like the more small betting I'm going to be doing. And then on a board like king 3 deuce, you can just kind of do whatever. Because at least on a board like this, you have incentive to bet something like king 7, whereas on like king 10-3 two tone, it doesn't make as much sense to bet that much with something like king 7, given like how much equity the out of position continues have. Like on a board like this, you can bet and get called by ace 7 or like a bunch of ace high, and then like like some hands with some backdoors and whatnot. Like yeah, and even like the lower pocket pairs. So it just makes a lot more sense to just use a bit more of a linear strategy on a board like this. You just benefit a lot more from protection, but something like ace queen, is going to have a lot more equity on something like king 10-3 as opposed to king 3 deuce. So it doesn't make as much sense just to like play really big bets or checks. Okay. Oh yeah, back to the king 10-3. Where did it go? Okay, so we face a check on this board, and jack 8 can obviously do a bit of whatever, but it's one of those hands where if I bet, I get called by jack 9, ace jack, queen jack, all those hands, and I fold out the jack X I dominate. So I'd much rather bet something like jack 4 of spades or jack deuce of spades. Yeah, because for a couple of reasons. I mean, like these middling pocket pairs are going to be checking to facing. Well, let's see, my strategy is more like pot or check. You just unblock more pocket pair folds, but also like the utility of betting something like jack 8 just isn't nearly as high as betting something like jack deuce. And when you have something like jack deuce, you're just going to unblock more folds on later streets. So like the EV of the bet line in later streets just goes way up. Especially when you face something like a check call on this board. It's a pretty good spot just to be barreling turn a lot. Just because like if someone is going out of their way to check this board, there's no real great check calls. Like they're checking like 9s. That hand sucks as a turn check call. If they have ace 8, that hand sucks as a turn check call. If they have queens, that hand sucks as a turn check call. So it's just when they're disproportionately weighted to those sorts of hands, it's really nice to just give yourself the green light in a lot of these spots. However, I would say don't be too overzealous betting the flop, because again, the out of position check calls are going to have a lot of equity on this board. So it's not like you're just going to be able to triple off and print. It's just like if they do actually have a ton of these hands that are just gonna like check call, check fold, then yeah, like using some hands with equity or hands that just function really well as bets, just use those hands. Okay, so yeah, flop goes check check, and then we get this low pair turn, and so on a turn like this, so think about like the hands on a board like this that do have a lot of incentive to check. It's going to be like marginal value bets, right? So when we get a 3 like this, it just strengthens ace high by quite a bit. So you could even like block turn with something like ace queen as a value bet. You're going to see a lot more of this in the delay c-bet spots, like button versus big blind, where the PFR is in position. Because like when you value bet ace queen on the turn, you still have to check river and possibly face a bet. Whereas like when you're in position, you just realize all of your equity. In the turn check call line. So when you're in position, these delay c-bets with really thin value work a lot better. It's actually a very theoretically sound strategy. If the turn like pairs a low card and it's like a pretty dry board, you can like value bet some ace high for like quarter pot or something and then check back the river. Okay. Yeah, so we actually face half pot. Which, I mean, it's definitely a thing. Like, jacks and queens are making it into this line sometimes. You could do it with, like, a shitty king or something sometimes. So, yeah, never folding turn. And then the river is an offsuit ace. And so when I face half pot on the turn, it just feels like the size. So, like, if he blocked turn, it would feel a lot more like something like ace queen or ace jack, which I think some regs would realize like how strong their hand is, and when humans are playing out of position, they like so first of all, playing out of position is very difficult, especially on like turns and rivers. So I think if a human has ace high on the turn there, like they could definitely just have something like ace queen and like try to take down the pot on the turn, and just play less rivers. Yeah, so, however, when I face half pot, it doesn't feel so much like ace queen. It feels more like queens or jacks. And so when I faced this bet on the river, I was very, very curious. So first thing, let's take a look at what sorts of hands are betting for out of position. So notice stuff with spades in them are doing a lot of giving up, like Jack 9 with a spade is doing a lot more giving up than Jack 9 without a spade. Queen 9, similar thing going on. And then just a lot of give ups. So just to recap, like after the flop goes check check, like in position is just gonna have. So if we look at our overall range has 18% ace high. However, when we check back, we have 20.5. And then after facing this bet size on the turn, so our overall range has 22.4% ace high, and if we call, it's kind of similar. But we have lots of straight draws as well, which is an important part in stuff like ace 10. So when the ace hits on the river, we now have a ton of river top pair and a good number of straights. But yeah, I mean, just look at all of this, offsuit ace X that floats turn. It's quite a lot, and so when the ace hits on the river, like it's just very, very, very good for the in position player here. just like all of our floats get there. So, out of position has a huge equity disadvantage at 39%. That's very, very damning. So, like his value bets on the river here are going to be, like for the block size, it's going to be King X. However, in game, he bet like 40%, which is a very peculiar size to me. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily. Like, I think if he has Ace Queen or Ace Jack, that would be a very reasonable size for him to take with that hand. It was just like it just didn't really match up with the turn line. So, I was just very tempted to raise. And you have to consider, so like, out of position is giving up stuff like Jack X of spades and Jack 9 off with a spade, right? So when they bet, you would prefer to have spades to like raise or call or whatever. So yeah, like we can see like Jack 8 of spades is raising sometimes. Jack 7 of spades, very high frequency raise, pretty much pure. Those combos like in red are non-existent combos, so it's showing other combos of Jack 7, but we don't get here with those. But yeah, these Jack X of spades hands, yeah, Jack Deuce of spades almost pure, are just like very, very good candidates to raise, because we just unblock bluffs. And the Jack is nice because like if out of position does bet the turn, he's gonna with something like Queen Jack, he's gonna do it more often with a spade. So like we unblock bluffs and then we block more Queen Jack. So it actually works out quite nice. So yeah, I think I should just be raising this river. It's very important to consider like the entire line. Now, like sometimes, let's see, half pot, say we like raise kind of small-ish. Yeah, just like never fold top pair. I think if he does have an ace, it's just going to be like ace, queen, ace, jack, and I think we just get called a lot. So yeah, I just wanted to end this video with a cool hand history analysis. And so like as the video goes on, there will be some other fun hands, and I'm gonna go through and I guess you guys don't know this, but this is part 1 of like a 3-part live play series. Like this was all one session, so I'm gonna take some interesting hands from the other bits of the session that I think were questionable. Like I just made a few plays in a couple spots that I just like wasn't happy with in hindsight. So, it'll be cool to like go back through and dive into those. So I'll see you guys next time.